This is going to take a national coordination, and it should be handled at the border. Should be handled at the border. And we should ensure that the entire country absorbs this influx of asylum seekers.
Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Ellison Maloney. That was New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who has begun blaming the far left for the inaction on the border crisis. Joining us now is New York City Councilman Joe Borelli and former acting CBP Commissioner and Heritage Foundation visiting fellow Mark Morgan. Gentlemen, good morning. Joe, I'll start with you. Eric Adams now seems to be saying, we've got a crisis here in New York, but New York's a sanctuary city.
Well, finally, he's right. So let's start there. What I saw yesterday at these migrant hotels was an absolute calamity. And it's unfortunate that Joe Biden, who was in town last week, flying from Poughkeepsie down the Jersey Shore to Manhattan for fundraisers, didn't take 5 minutes to come check out basically the Hooverville that we're building now on Randall's Island and all these migrant hotels, because the conditions are abhorrent, and it's certainly a tragedy. Yeah,
Mark, I mean, we've got Kamala Harris, who is in, she was in Texas over the weekend, but she wasn't there to visit the border. We now have this influx of migrants in New York. It's going to cost the city $1 billion. This is hardworking, tax-paying Americans who are going to be footing the bill. And then think about the fentanyl crisis as well.
Yeah, Allison, I'm glad you mentioned the fentanyl crisis. I'll get that in a second. So first of all, let's keep in mind the hypocrisy here, because the first 20 months under the presidency of Joe Biden, they've let in intentionally over 2 million illegal aliens into this country. And many of them, through DHS on the backs of U.S. taxpayers, have been flown to New York City almost every day for this past 20 months. But no mention from this mayor. It was only until Republican governors shipped a few thousand, and now it's all of a sudden a crisis. So that's level one of hypocrisy. And look, the mayor just the past couple of days ago said that, look, this is going to impact the entire city of New York, and that New Yorkers, quote, deserve to know why this is happening. As Joe said, the irony of that, just replace New Yorkers with Americans and New York with America. And this mayor and I, we're finally in sync. And the last thing they'll say, what he does not mention is the open borders. He doesn't go after this president because, as you said, Allison, it's about border security. And it's not just illegal aliens coming to New York. What this administration has allowed is criminals coming to New York, drugs coming to New York, and a potential national security threat coming to New York, as well as every other state and city in this country, and not a mention of that.
Yeah, Mark, you're so right. Joe, you mentioned you were at these hotels where the migrants are, and now we're hearing reports that they're knocking on doors, asking people for help, asking them for money. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
It's very sad. I mean, these people are here with nothing but the shirt on their back, and there are children, there are women among them. But what an incredible closing message from the Democrats. You have the biggest city in our country's mayor acknowledging this crisis, acknowledging that open borders has failed, acknowledging that sanctuary cities are unsustainable. This is not the message Democrats want. Maybe it doesn't matter here in New York. We're not changing our sanctuary city laws. Right. But I bet you in the 100 or so competitive House seats in this country, this New York problem is now a factor.
Yeah, well, in the New York, it's not just a problem in New York, too, right, Joe? I mean, we're seeing it across the country. Mark, the White House policies, they've led to 2 million illegal migrants from 160 different countries to our border. How much longer can we allow this to go on? Because we've talked about this. Venezuela is saying, hey, listen, get out of jail. You're a murderer. Go over to the border. We don't want you here, so you can go to the United States.
Yeah, that's right. Allison, we can't. Look, you're spot on. I appreciate you bringing up Venezuela and the drugs, because this isn't just about illegal immigration. That's what the Democrats want this to be about. And then they just remove the illegal part and just talk about immigration. This is about border security, of which illegal immigration drives our borders to be more open because it pulls resources off. Again, drugs are coming in, criminals are coming in, national security threat. Look, Joe is absolutely 100% right. I think what you've seen, not just with this mayor, the virtue signaling is done, right? I mean, you just had Mark Kelly that's in an embattled Senate race. He's calling it a crisis all of a sudden. So he's come out of the shadow. For the past 20 months, he's done nothing. And now he's coming out of the shadows calling it a crisis, because that's exactly what it is. You have other Democrats like Henry Cuellar that's actually on the border, and he's been a fairly honest broker saying the same thing.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are wondering when the White House will call it a crisis and acknowledge that it's a problem. Mark Morgan, Joe Borelli, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And we have, of course, we have plenty more to come on Wake Up America. We'll be right back.